So women's pair, and this is another tough one because we haven't seen New Zealand race, who were the world champions. We haven't seen Morrison and McIntyre race, the Australians, who were second in the last World Championships. We haven't seen Janssens and Filmer race, the Canadians, who were third at the World Championships. And we haven't seen Calmo and Isa race, the American pair that just been selected, who were fourth. So what do we do with all that?
It's been a case of like the rest of the world and Europe, isn't it? Because we've only really seen that European bubble race. And it's been great watching the Brits come back into it with Helen and Polly and, going up against the Romanians. But really, like you said, all the quality is outside of Europe, and it's going to be watching those top two crews from Europe going up against everyone else. Like, where do you pick that apart, right? Like, I think that the Kiwis, though, you'd probably have had your money on, if you were to bet last year who was going to win the gold in that event, in a heartbeat, you'd say Grace and Kerry, wouldn't you?
You would, except to say that in 2018, the Canadians beat them, and then they only had 6 weeks in the pair before the 2019 World Championships when they got the bronze. And I also heard from them that the Canadian women's pair aren't doing the 8. So they're just going to focus. And so the New Zealanders are in the 8. I heard, a little bird say that the Australian women's pair might be doubling up in their 4, which I thought, wow.
Because they all doubled up at Linz, didn't they? The top 3 crews, all medalling crews doubled up into their respective 8s at Linz, and they all got medals, which is crazy.
Well, I don't, and this is, I'm going to take it down a rabbit hole, but I think this could be an interesting, evolution for the sport, because we do this in Canada at our university rowing championships, where you have the 8, and then the 8 breaks into a 4, a pair, a double, and then you have a single sculler out of there. And this could be, the future of the sport if everyone has to double up. And, then everyone has 2 races, the regattas spread out. I'd like to see that development. I think it would be more exciting for the sport. And then we could have more 8s racing, because I love watching lots of 8s racing, but that's my 8 race bias.
Yeah. What about, what do you guys think of Helen Glover, the British double Olympic champion in pairs, coming back with Polly Swan? They won the Europeans. They were very dominant in the middle of the course. The Spanish did come back to them, or the field came back to them in the last quarter. But again, it's big news in Britain. Every team announcement is the top line is Helen Glover's in the team.
Well, and she has a very compelling backstory, having had twins and coming on the other side of childbearing, child rearing, and jumping back in the boat. And I think that in and of itself is an impressive story, impressive storyline. And she is an experienced athlete, but until you've shown your medal on the international stage, it's the prize goes to the fastest boat, and I'm not sure that. I don't know. I think they'll be in the mix, but I don't think that they'd be a strong contender.
I think I might. I think, as I say, I might disagree. I don't
disagree.
I'm going to disagree. No, I would. Having kind of heard about Helen's kind of role within the team over the last 11 years now, really, with her brief sabbatical to have her children, the one thing that consistently was coming out of Caversham, the GB training base, is like Helen Glover is one of the best boat movers in the world, right? On the women's sort of sweep side, she can move a boat so well, and it doesn't matter where you put her, who you put her with, she's going to take that boat down the course to try and win. And again, just having heard sort of the combinations and pairs matrices that they've put her through throughout her time. I know obviously we're talking back in the Rio and the London days, you know, she would win every single pairs matrix. She's that fast. And I just can't believe that she wouldn't be in that boat going to Tokyo if they didn't think it was going to medal. I just don't think that they'd have put out on a limb that
big shout
crew was going to go there. So
Well,
I don't know.
And it makes sense for her at her career. You know, you wouldn't want to, at her state in the game, she wouldn't want to go to the Olympics and not be a contender for the medal. And the same point of time, you're tapering for one regatta of the year. You're not showing up to the World Cups saying, "Oh, I want to prove myself in the World Cup." It's usually sharpening the saw and trying to learn a few things and put yourself through the ringer. These other races don't mean a lot. And, you know, again, until we get to the point where national federations are starting to share their training data, it becomes a lot of just guessing game from outsiders like ourselves.
We haven't mentioned Russia and Denmark. Trina Hansen, another mum back in the Danish pair, but I think we can. So this is a real well, what can we say? Because we're just putting a finger up in the wind and going for 1, 2, 3 here, aren't we? But I think you've made a strong statement about Helen Glover there, Camilla. So I think you ought to have the chance to say. So I'm going to go for. I think I'm going to go for Canada gold, New Zealand silver, and Australia bronze.
Good call.
How about you, Adam?
Well, I've got to back you on the Canada gold. I can't really stand back from my ladies here, and I'm going to say that I've got some. You know, you brought me back on the Helen Glover side of things, and I'm going to say Canada gold, GB silver, and then New Zealand. I'm going to even push them out of it. I'm going to say the Danish are going to come through because
that's a big deal.
That's a really big call.
Yeah,
love it.
You know, the moment New Zealand realizes that, and I'm of the opinion that the women's field is now too. It's too deep. There's too much competition. So doubling up is, has a little bit of overconfidence that comes along with it. You know, it takes 36 hours to recover from, this aerobic, anaerobic output if you're doing max output. So you have a couple of tough races and the edge is off. And, we know sometimes it just takes half a bow ball to make it happen, and that's the edge you want.
So what about you, Camilla?
I think that if they could do it in Linz, I think they can do it in Tokyo. I'm going to go for the Kiwis at the top.
Yeah.
I'm then going to go for the Canadians in silver, and I'm going to go for the Brits in bronze and the Aussies to be pushed out of it.
The Aussies to be pushed out.